Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to This Is Your Normal. I am your host, Bob Ohms. Are you thinking about avoiding change? Or perhaps you like routines? What if change was part of your routine? One recent change with this podcast is that I now have a website where all episodes are available for streaming. Please visit thisisyournormal.com. This website was made possible by GreenTreeMediaLLC.com. I'd like to remind you that all episodes are available for download on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Here's a quote from today's guest.
You want to talk about normal. Like, to me, normalcy for me being in business is not routine. As long as things are always changing and there's always something new to tackle and there's always a new issue and there's always a new problem, to me, that's normal. The minute that things start becoming so routine and things start becoming so monotonous and it's just the same shit over and over and over again, that's when I start getting worried, because that's when I know things are about to go bad.
In this episode, we will hear from Jason Mercurio, life coach, personal trainer, and founder of Redline Circuit Training. Jason's mission is to support your well-being through nutritional guidance, training, emotional support, and rest and recovery. He strives to deliver the best service that will support and spread health and wellness throughout his community. Please enjoy this episode of This Is Your Normal. Jason Mercurio, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Bobby, thanks. I appreciate you having me, man. Good to hear from you. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, man. We are on a video chat. Unfortunately, the listeners can't see our beautiful faces, but maybe
that's
one day
good,
they
man.
will. You never know.
Dude, congrats on getting started with the podcasting, man. I think that's great for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been challenging, but it's been really fun. I'm fortunate enough to know really motivating people such as yourself that can give me some easy interviews, and it allows me a platform to get people like you an opportunity to share your story.
I appreciate that, man. I'm just happy to be here, man.
I think it's important to let everybody know we kind of go back a ways.
Yeah, we do.
We knew each other in high school.
Yeah. 1996.
Yeah. Man. It's a long time ago, man.
Yeah, man. Nice.
And then we ran into each other on the fire department.
Yeah.
We were both on the Toledo Fire and Rescue Department. And then you decided to make a career change.
I did.
And now this is so awesome for me to say this. You are a life coach, a personal trainer, small business owner.
Yes.
And that's awesome.
I appreciate that, man. It was quite a transition. You know, I got to tell you, when I first started all this, I guess I was never anticipating it taking off the way that it did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I take it back to, it was probably 2017. And gosh, man, I was just on my off days, I'd go to the gym and train, and little by little, man, I would just get like random people who would walk up and say, hey, you know, they would just ask me questions about what I'm doing. And then sure enough, man, they would ask me if they could join in. I said, sure, man, why not? You know, and they would just join in with me. And that's how I started building up clients in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And man, after a little bit, you know, they started asking me, especially these two guys, man, they said, hey, are you a certified, you know, trainer? And I said, no. I said, man, I think you'd be good at it. So I kind of started looking into it. Obviously, at that time, I was, you know, like you said, I was at Toledo Fire. I was a paramedic at the time. So I was looking through the material, what was required for the certification to be a nationally accredited coach and trainer. And it really didn't look like it was too difficult or too much, like maybe even a bridge to, you know, the information to pick up. So took the test, passed it, got my certification, and immediately the YMCA, once I told them that I was certified, they hired me right in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I already had a few people that I was already working with anyway. So they became my clients. And man, I did that for probably a good solid, I would say 6 months. And then the YMCA moved. And that's when you came down there.
I was one of your fortunate guinea pigs.
Yeah, exactly. And by that time, that's when I was pretty much rock and rolling with Redline. You know, I had already now put it officially down on paper. I was strategically programming things for just the several clients that I had, with you being one of them.
Yeah.
When I started to see the influx of people more and more that were coming in down to the YMCA, man, I said, damn, maybe this really has some potential. And so, I had always wanted to open my own business. I had always wanted to open my own gym. And don't get me wrong, there's still a day that goes by that I don't, think about hopping on that engine. And, there is one side of it that does miss it a lot. But I will say that when I opted to finally launch the business itself, and those first 6 months, man, it grew pretty quick, really fast, actually. And to the
as
point
far as
where,
your gym that you started.
Yeah. When I had, I own Redline Circuit Training, and when I had launched it, I felt like I was bringing on, several people every couple of weeks, and it was growing pretty quickly. And it got to the point where I'd be at the engine house, man. And, when I was down at Engine 9, man, we had a really close knit crew, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just pulling me away from the guys so much, man. After about that 6 month mark, I kind of started getting the feeling that something was going to have to happen, because I couldn't keep going that way,
right.
Working 24 hours and then just, oh my gosh, it was insanity, the operations of it. But I opted to sat down with my wife and I explained everything to her. She was pretty hesitant at first. And so we jumped into it, man. And once we jumped into it and I was able to finally spearhead it full time, it was a hard day. It was a hard day having to, turn in my badge. It was a bittersweet, man. It really was. I had a phenomenal career with Civil Fire. I feel like, man, I was very fortunate to be around some of the greatest guys in the world, leaders especially. And that's something, unfortunately, that I didn't really have growing up in my life, was really any positive male role models at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say when on the fire department is when I really got a good dose of good, informative, educational, like servant style leaders. They were just, those guys that just wouldn't, they didn't have to ask you to ever do anything. You just wanted to follow it naturally. You wanted to, you wanted their leadership, you wanted to be able to learn from them. And so I was pretty fortunate, man, to be around some of those guys. And it really helped me a lot. Once I got into the business full time, though, man, it started growing pretty rapidly to the point where I started having to hire fairly quickly to scale, just to meet the demands of the amount of clients we had on the books.
And you became one of those leaders.
I appreciate that, man. It's a lot, man. I'm thankful that I had almost 15 years of fire service,
mm-hmm.
Because as an entrepreneur, being a business owner, man, it is like you literally are still a fireman. You're every day you're putting out fires nonstop, no matter what it is. There's always something to handle, and you have to do it in a very strategic manner, especially in today's employer world. It's something else. I have an entire whole new respect for management, for general managers, for any person that are in those positions of leadership that have to make decisions, sometimes quick decisions, sometimes very thought through decisions. I have a whole newfound respect for the decision-making process in and of itself, man. I really do. And we grew so quickly, pretty much through 2019. We had over a 400% growth rate, man. It was skyrocketing quickly.
I want to, can we dive into that?
For sure, man.
I think that's really important. Like we mentioned, I was one of your guinea pigs, and that was, I think what it was, I saw what you were doing.
Yeah.
And I saw you had even transformed yourself.
A little bit. Oh yeah. Actually a lot.
Not just a little bit. Come on, man.
Yeah, like it was a lot.
You made an obvious transformation. But the transformation, number one, was physically. It was like physically, you were very well put together. You started dressing really nice.
Yeah.
You're very fit, tone looking. I will speak for myself, and if you feel the same way, but me personally, I grew up the fat kid. And I know you. Yeah, right. Yep, and I didn't want to call you out on it, but
yeah.
you're a lineman just like I was on a football team.
Oh man.
And fast forward to this transformation you're making, getting your personal training certification. Jason Mercurio wasn't that fat kid anymore.
No, I got to tell you, I think it was my sophomore year. No, I'm sorry, my freshman year at St. Francis. I think it was, I was walking past the weight room. And you remember that old school weight room they used to have back then.
Very
it's not
small.
what they have now. They got state of the art shit, man. But anyways, I'm walking past there and one of the coaches says, "Hey, who are you?" I introduced myself. It was, one of our coaches at the time. And he pulled me right into the weight room, just gave me an introduction to the weights. And I think it was the first time I felt that pump. I was hooked. It has been with me ever since. I spent years in weight training, and I've suffered, I feel like, countless injuries just from bad form over the years, not having the right coaching, not having an actual strength and conditioning coach who knows what they're doing, how to, look for key markers because, while we're all constructed pretty much the same, we're still all anatomically built different. I have just a whole newfound respect for weightlifting itself, for training itself, for strength and conditioning. And now I'm 20 something years later, doing it all these years, I can get better results with half of the energy expended. And just by making a lot of these just subtle changes that getting your body in the right position, mixing up your diet with this and with that, and just seeing what works best for me personally, and then being able to take that experience and help the next person in their journey. Because to me, when you have an optimized system, where you got good food coming in, you have a weekly regimen, making sure that you're committing to your training. Congratulations on all your years of sobriety, being able to keep that kind of shit out of your system. Man, I feel like that's a really big recipe for success right there, because when your body physically feels good, you're just gonna perform better all around, no matter what you're doing. And I think that's important for any respected career field that's out there, for you to be at your optimal level of performance. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because that's, to me, you can strengthen the entire economy like that. That's how you're going to have an overall stronger economy. I don't know how else to explain it, So yep. It feels a hell of a lot better just being in control of my health like that, because it does transfer over to my mental and emotional health. And I've come to the realization over the years that I've had a lot of family mental health problems that have ran in my family, and emotional problems. And I understand that. And I've taken the time to reach out to, therapy and go through a lot of the steps that they have instructed me to do, that has helped me tremendously in that process. I think that every person would really benefit from that as well. I think that every person out there definitely has a level of mental struggle, of kind of getting in their own head and letting that eradicate the betterment of the day. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So it's been a long struggle bus, man. I ain't kidding you. Just a long road of overcoming a lot, and just, you know what I mean? Just getting it right and trying to just keep it all balanced. You know what I mean? So,
oh yeah. What would you say would be one of the hardest hurdles that you had to get over as far as this transformation?
Oh my gosh.
Of like creating the Jason Mercurio who's becoming a personal trainer and starting his own small business, having starting a gym. So
I would say this last year, hands down, been the most challenging part of my entire life. I had some
the 2020 global pandemic of COVID-19.
Oh yes. I'll just get this out there, that first lockdown came, and you're talking within 1 week of losing a 30-year business, and for a small business, I'm sorry, I don't have the reserves that some of these major corporates do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To keep up, with the demands of losing a 30-year company.
Right. You're brand new still.
Yeah, exactly. Your customer base. So the way that it happened, like I told you, everything was growing very rapidly. And man, that first we were halfway, and that's why I had to open up another location.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was, we were pretty much filled at the seams at our, location, our first location. And so we got halfway through the renovation at the second location, and that lockdown came. Mm-hmm. I had just signed the lease, and we were shut down for, what was it? Almost over 8 weeks. And it was a monster blow. It really did. It tore a hole into my business. And I'm going to tell you something. That's when things changed abruptly, and they changed immediately. And you want to talk about normal? Like, to me, normalcy for me being in business is not routine. Like, as long as things are always changing and there's always something new to tackle and there's always a new issue and there's always a new problem, to me, that's normal. The minute that things start becoming so routine and things start becoming so monotonous and it's just the same shit over and over and over again, that's when I start getting worried, because that's when I know things are about to go bad. And it certainly has kicked the shit out of me, to say the least, over the last year. I'm not kidding, having to overcome this. And I can't speak for any other industry out there. But I can tell you, in the fitness world, it has certainly had its severe challenges. And when I say severe, keeping people distanced, keeping people from high-fiving each other, making sure that people are comfortable who wear their masks, making sure you're catering to the people who don't want to wear their masks, making sure that you're keeping an eye on the people who are wearing masks so they're not constantly rebreathing CO2. Mm-hmm. These are little, they may not seem like big problems, but they really are. And they're little things that you as a coach have to constantly keep your eye on, and I'm thankful that we're starting to lighten up a little bit on the actual mandates. However, I can tell you, through 2020, having to live through all of them and abide by everything, it was pretty brutal. It was pretty brutal, to say the least, especially for a small business. And it eliminated a lot, to the point where, and on top of that, we had a little bit of, I don't want to call it a turf war, but we had a little bit of some issues at the building I was in with the noise that we were producing. It's just, we were in completely different industries, and some of the other business owners weren't too happy. So we were forced to relocate our first, studio. So that's what we're currently doing, is we're renovating our second one, which will accommodate things much easier. So
where's that second location going to be?
It'll be located downtown Toledo.
Okay.
It'll be down on Ontario, and we'll probably be launching the relaunch celebration date here in the coming weeks. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, man, I'm excited. It's been a lot of hard work of just revamping everything. Mm-hmm. The way that I'm going to be running the sessions, new equipment, virtual training as well. It's it's been a lot of putting the pen to the paper, writing down new parameters, writing down my new protocols for the company itself, and seeing where I particularly went wrong, leading the operation through the coronavirus, because to me, leadership is everything. If you can fix the leadership, you can fix the majority of the problems, in my experience. So before I moved the company any further, I had to focus on me and where I was going, and what, really where I seen my business going as well. So
I want to dive deeper into the coaching part. What's the official name? Redline Circuit Training?
Yep. Exactly. It's what it is. It's circuit training. It's, high intensity interval training. So, yep. Right.
So Redline Circuit Training, you open up this location, and you said it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. Mm-hmm. And you, as a business owner, a humble individual as you are, probably do not realize why it's growing so much. And I can tell you, as one of your participants and going through this, before I was preparing for this podcast interview today, I was talking to my wife and explaining to her, like, I wish I had better words to describe the intensity, the passion that this guy has. You were not allowing me to be weak, but somehow you sprinkled some magic dust on me that gave me the willingness to be more powerful, to do, extra reps. I mean, I remember the one time, what was I doing? It was some sort of, like, probably a plank. I remember being on the ground. Like, I don't know if I was doing like some sort of crunches or
Yeah.
planking or something. It was some sort of abdominal thing. And my abdomen is the weakest thing. And
Yeah.
I remember you were on the ground in my face, not yelling at me,
Yeah.
encouraging me. I'm like, this guy is in my face, looking at me in my eyes, encouraging me to keep going. And I had the power to just do it.
Man, see, I'll tell you what, man, I like hearing you say that. That's the kind of stuff that really motivates me and inspires me, man. And that's why I do what I do, is because to me, pandemic or not, really at the end of the day, all it really boils down to is your level of service to the people. That's all it boils down to, is getting them to realize their own strengths, because that's where confidence sets in. And as a coach, I feel it is your number one duty to look out for the general well-being of your client. Number two, don't ever break any kind of relationship code that you have with that client, and make sure that they realize that they are a lot stronger than they really believe that they can do it. Because once they break that threshold, their possibilities are limitless, because then they start seeing, it starts transferring over to other areas of their life. If I can do this, man, I know I can do that. And I know I can do that. And then that. And that keeps building and building and building.
Oh, yeah.
And I also feel that it does nothing productive for anybody out there if I'm in your face and I'm screaming at you profanities to tear you down. If I'm yelling at you because you did like something wrong, or I'm using training as punitive in some recourse, like I don't believe in being that kind of like drill sergeant type. I do believe, however, in being that kind of coach who's can lift your ass up when you just can't go any further. When you got, when you really want to push yourself to, to that point, having somebody that's down there at your level, helping you get there. Do you know what I mean? Just supporting your own energy. And I feel that I've had some pretty good success with doing it that way, because I know for me, that's what's kind of driven me in life. Kind of always shut down whenever I would have somebody like screaming at me about whatever it may be. It never really worked for me. So if I had a coach there who was actually like, yeah, come on, I know you can do it. I know you got it in. That's the kind of stuff that lifted me. And I do believe that all of us need that person in life. No matter what age, no matter what gender you are, I feel that when it comes to being a good coach, if you're really in it, then be in it. Don't just be a coach because it's like a cool thing to do. Like, really be in it for the people. That's where you're going to have the most success, because people do need that. They get off work. Who knows what they're going through at their job, or who knows what they're going through in their personal life. And when they walk in those doors, it's your job as their coach for them to shut all of that shit off, leave it out there in the hallway. And the minute they walk into that door, is for them to focus strictly on them. It is the most selfish thing that you can do for yourself, to find a great gym with a great coach, but it transfers over into you becoming the most selfless person because of it. And you're taking that time, whether it's a half an hour, an hour and a half each day, to focus just on you, so that when you walk back out those doors, man, you can be a solid MF, for anybody else out there that is under your responsibility. So yeah, that's how I feel.
When did that start for you? Like, when did you figure that out, that is what works for you? And at some point in time, you had to have mastered that you could share that with other people and teach that to other people as a coach.
Yeah, I would say I started transferring over to that with me doing it myself, becoming a coach shortly after one of my, I'm not sure if you ever got the opportunity to work with Chief Pete Jaegler by chance. He was my very first officer on the job. He was probably the only male father figure I ever even had remotely close to in my life. He jumped in my ass when I needed to be jumped in my ass. He would spend time. He would just spend time with me. He would talk with me. He would engage with me, whether it would be about cars, working out, firefighting, family stuff. He really was like a beacon of light. It was pretty rough when he passed away. However, after that, it motivated me to kind of help pass that along as well. And prior to that, again, I would say throughout my years, especially athletically training, we had a few coaches that were kind of like that with me. Some of them could really jump at you in a drill sergeant way, but I had a couple that were more motivating like that, and it really, I don't know, man. I think it just kind of really pulled on me in that way. So that's why I've had the opportunity to finally realize that when it comes to your client base, especially if you're running group training, I mean, again, like one-on-one training, it's a little bit different than group training, but regardless, even if you have a team or if you have individuals, the one thing is constant, that if you have a coach who is really there to help pick you up, who can just not tell you what to do, but kind of just offer some solid advice that supports what your intuition is already. I've just found that that's what keeps people coming back. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what keeps people coming back, to want to be around you, to want to train with you, and whatnot.
I have to let you know, your group training feels like personal training. I remember being shocked the first few times, like, man, how can he just spent so much attention on me. He's encouraging me. One of the things I would like to add is like, how you're motivating me is saying, you're going to do this. And you're standing right there with me. You're going to finish this set, and I'm right here. I'm with you. We're going to do this. And then I finish that set. You give me an attaboy, and then you go on to the next person, and you're doing the same thing for them. And it was like, wow, I just received this personal connection here, and then boom, he's off to the next person. And
I've realized when it comes to training, especially with groups and teams, thankfully I've had a lot of years of experience as far as teams go, with football, through wrestling, you name it. And the one thing that I've realized is when you're on that side, when you're on the player side, when you're on the client side, is, man, they need somebody to kind of like lightweight cuss out under their breath. They need oh God, this fucking sucks. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they also need somebody who is going to help pick them up, who's going to pat them on the back. Like, good job getting that last rep. Good job, going up 10 pounds from last week. And the list goes on. And I won't ever be an advocate for big group training just because to me, it washes out my ability as a coach to be able to have that connect with you or the next person and know that you're not just a head. Like, you're actually somebody that I know a little bit about your personal life. I know like what your inhibitions are. I know what you're unable to perform. I know what you are strong at, and the list goes on. And so it allows me to be able to really gauge when I'm active in the session itself, to be able to say, okay, like, I know Bob, he's good here for a second. He's doing a great job. So I can focus more on Sally Mae over at this particular station, because she's having a little bit more difficult time performing this or that. So it does with the smaller group sessions. It's just, man, I've just found it allows me as a coach to be able to really just deliver, because I also like getting into the jams, the music a lot as well. So,
oh yeah. That was always something to look forward to, is the music choices. And it was always ever changing too. So, well, that's good to hear. You had some good leaders that kind of made an impression on you, and you're able to take from that and want to serve others in that similar fashion. What kind of things take me into the future? We talked about how hard this past year and a half has been as a small business owner in the fitness realm of things, social distancing and a circuit training gym just don't match up.
Exactly.
So things are starting to lift. We're going, I like to say everybody's talking now. We're going back to normal. Although I disagree. We're not going back to normal. Is this a new normal? Look, things are just changing. Let me stop myself right there. You said something that I think is very important earlier. You said, as a small business owner, your normalcy was things changing, adjusting, but when things get mundane and it's the same thing over and over is where you get worried.
Yep.
but I think that is a key factor for us as we're saying, like the masks are going off, businesses are opening up. You said you're about to announce a reopening of your gym and all that kind of stuff. Is this a new normal or not? I'm feeling like that's really not your way of looking at things.
Correct.
Yes.
I don't look at, to me, I 100% agree with you, man. I don't see this ever going back to whatever humans wanted to consider normal prior to COVID-19. I do believe that there are going to be certain things that we will hold on to, but I also believe that it is going to be completely different. You can't disrupt and impact the economy at that magnitude where things have to adapt in a particular way. To me, it's like kind of trying to unscramble eggs. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't go back and just like change it. You know, we've become so accustomed to communicating via Zoom, via Skype. Technology and the amount of data that is needed, the demand for it now because of, this pandemic has just, the proof is in the pudding. And it's like, for me in my business, I found that virtual training and getting our program to people's homes has become a stream of revenue. It has become a method for us to be able to help people, in the process to stay on top of their health and their wellness and their mental health. And by just giving them a few pieces of equipment and then having them follow along with us. There are certainly a lot of people who don't want to go back into gyms at all. They don't want to share that. They don't want to risk that. And so to me, having a means to be able to stay in business in the fitness world, you have to be able to adapt to what is now in front of us going forward and not holding on to what was before. Because if your only way of staying afloat is by just doing the same shit over and over and over again, while some of it may be consistent, to me in business, you are either growing or you are dying. That flat line is just a flat line to me. And I think that as long as you're growing and you're giving out your best service, that's what's going to ultimately, ensure your survival in the market, the live marketplace. And right now it requires us to be a little bit more creative. It requires, fitness businesses, especially group training, to, be able to incorporate a lot more things virtually for their clients, because there are still clients who do want to come in to train at the gym, but there are still clients that virtual training has just exploded percentage wise over this last year, obviously. So being able to incorporate both of those, being able to make sure that people who are coming to your class are ultimately going to be as safe as possible, that you're going to be able to provide a clean, system for them, good equipment, things to be able to make it happen quickly, give them the proper amount of space in between one another, so you're not rubbing elbows with everything or with everybody in class. So it's a hustle, but as a coach, in my opinion, is your job to do so, because that's where you're going to be able to deliver the most effective, service to the people. And so for me, the new normal is, as this post-pandemic, time period that's coming upon us now, like the new normalcy for me is figuring it out along the way of what is required and what needs to change more and more. There's been so many changes, obviously, with, the disinfecting of everything non-stop, man. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, I've also learned that different areas of my business have had to require a lot more attention and energy. Example, you'd be surprised, but I actually probably wouldn't. Clients, I don't want to say like they're more needy now, but there's more demand of like people needing that emotional and mental support right now.
Yeah, that human connection.
Oh my gosh, man. Again, prior to the pandemic, I feel like it was never really that much like this. I've noticed a huge surge in it, not a little one, a huge surge with my own clients, of people just, man, not doing very well, mentally or emotionally. And, from what they may ever be, going through in their personal life. So to me, again, to hit on it, normalcy is the ever changing of all the new things that are coming into my business, and me being able to meet those demands in order for the business to be successful itself. So in the event that if they're hopefully not in the future, we have another pandemic-like issue, that I'm going to be in a much better position as a leader to be able to make sure or have the systems in place so that myself and my team can adapt very quickly if we need to. So it's been very challenging, and it's been man, I'm not kidding you. It has been very, very challenging and tough. At the same token, I have learned so much, in the event we ever got an opportunity to do it over again, which I don't wish on anybody, but
absolutely not.
Yeah. So that's my normal. I don't ever want to get caught in the trap of just staying in the same old cycle over and over. Ugh. It's like that.
That's why I put the phone call in for you to do this. So your normalcy is adapting to change.
Pretty much.
That is what you prefer.
That's it. Just like, you still strap on your gear, man. Every run you go on is different. Every emergency scene that you're on, man, is always something new. Use your brain. You got to really use your skills, your experience to really overcome a lot, and be able to balance that publicly as far as your company goes. Because, reputation is a huge thing, whatever respectable industry you're in. So.
Gotcha. You have that mindset. I think I have personally a little taste of that mindset. I know sometimes, and I'm not just saying like that you're great at that. And I'm sure that's not easy to have that mindset of having that constant change, adapting to change as be your normalcy. That's not an easy choice to make.
No, it's not. And it takes time, man. And it takes time to not even get used to it, but just to understand that it's there. And it's like when you wake up in the morning, I mean, shit, I'm up at 45 every day, getting after it, answering emails, getting on the messenger with clients, to whether it's their nutrition, whether it's their training, whether it's just to talk them off the ledge for the day. We know what I mean, whatever it may be. And then, getting to the weight room, making sure that you're getting it in. So it's a conscious choice to understand that the minute you wake up, bam, dude, you don't know what's coming today. You can try to control it as much as you want, but life is still going to happen, and be able to just understand that whatever fire happens, you got to put it out, no matter how big, no matter how small it is. You just got to handle it. And that's one thing that I accept. I accept that I have no control, but that I'm going to do everything I can to just keep putting it out,
What's the best way to get started? I'm talking about the people who don't embrace change. Maybe have been stuck in a rut for the past year and a half, 2 years, 6 months even. How do I get myself out of that fear of change and perhaps that rut that I've just created, and I don't see any change in the future and I don't know how to get out?
I see. If anybody's ever teetering on the position or on the decision to maybe launch their own business, to do their own thing, whether it's to take a new promotion if they want it that bad and the opportunities on their table, but they're scared a little, no matter what challenge you're facing in that realm, and you got to make a decision. Just understand that there's going to come points in time, no matter how much you war game it, no matter how much you try to pre-plan it, no matter how much you try to put it on paper, it's never going to work out that way ever. And just understand that there's going to be times in life that you're just going to have to jump in and you're going to have to figure it out. And the good thing about doing it in that way is your experience is what brings you to that level of just, it's not so much that you know how to do it. You're just experienced in doing it, because action will always alleviate the anxiety that you have when it comes to wanting to take on a new task or challenge like that. If you just get in and just start doing the shit, that's all it takes. And you got to do it, and you got to go through it. You got to take the punches that come with it. You have to take all the scrutiny. If you can't take criticism, don't even jump into it. Because when you're going out, the difference between an entrepreneur and somebody who has a career, I mean, it's you're the same person, but at the same time, when you are done at your job, you're clocked out. It's no longer your problem. You're done. And when you have your own thing, you have to handle everything. You have to write all your own rules, your regulations. You have to handle all the problems that come. You have to create systems. The list goes on. So you can't get overwhelmed with any of that, because the demands, to, again, in my experience, and it's been a short experience thus far, but day by day, it moves pretty quick. And I'm telling you that if you just get in, the demands of your business that you're coming up with, or whatever you're launching into, they'll present themselves of what needs to be tackled. Like, it really will. You know, if you're short staffed in one area, it'll show you that. You know, it's just the way that it goes that I have found. The one thing that is the most important, though, for anybody out there who may be doubting themselves, is if you are considering doing it, I would really focus on sharpening your leadership abilities. Because the minute that you transfer into being a boss type person is the minute that you are going to lose all respect. The minute that you have to yell at somebody, you lose all respect. Having the ability to be calm, having the ability to just listen and to understand, having the ability, sometimes you have to just like let things play out too, if you try to control it too much. So it's a very fine line as an entrepreneur and as a leader that you have to walk, but it's worth it. It really is worth it. And each step you take is very, very critical. I have a definite respect for it, because people look up to you. You know, your staff, your team, your clients, your customer base, they look up to you. They look to you to make the best decision. And one minor bad decision on your part can cause catastrophic repercussions. And, you know, you can make 1,000 correct decisions, and all it takes is that one, you know? And so just understand that if you're that one of those people right now that are like, man, kind of on the fence about, man, do I really want to launch and do it? Yeah, you should. I think that every person should do their own thing, because that's where they're going to try find their true fulfillment. But you also understand that you have to take everything that comes with it. You can't pick and choose. I think that's what a lot of people get mixed up these days. You know, there was a small business that opened up about 6 months ago and just closed down. And I'm not down on the person, the business owner. It's just, I understand that it can be so overwhelming, the magnitude of being an operator, okay, and a you know a manager, of having to make sure everything's done, that it can overwhelm you to the point where why do I even want this headache anymore? You know, and it's like, you have to come to terms with it, that you can't just take the good parts of being in business. You know, you got to take everything that it comes with, that dishes it out. You know, you got to take all the good with all the bad. But it's important for you too, because once you do and you develop that thick skin and you go through a lot of just the pain of it, I can't really explain it, man. It's just the pain of it. You know, the best way I could really send out a good analogy to it is like when you first get those first several real hot fires, and you really haven't really felt too much heat before that, and to the point where it's like, oh shit, you know, it was kind of like that for me. It was very uncomfortable, or sitting in a meeting with several people on a deal that just has your heart racing so fast, you know, but you got to remain calm in those moments, man. You know, when you're starting to really make some big moves in life like that, and, you know, it's a very cautious, like a tightrope, man. But I think that if you don't make that decision to become that, if you're considering it in life, later down the road, you're going to look back and you are going to have a huge regret that you didn't go after it. And to me, I could never live with myself on that accord. You know, this is something that I personally always wanted, and I hope that anybody who's considering launching their own business and into entrepreneurship better love what they're doing, because if they're only after it for the monetary gain of it, my gosh, man, you're not going to last. There's no chance in hell. You're talking about 18-hour days, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not kidding you. Every week for however long that it takes. So it has certainly sent me my challenges. And, but I would hope that anybody out there, if you can understand that, the risks are out there, of course, the hardship is out there, of course, but if you're willing to go through it, you will reap the benefits of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my advice.
Yeah. And you love doing what you do. It's obvious.
Oh my gosh, I do.
Yeah. It's a very apparent to me. And I hope anybody listening can hear it in your voice that you really do love helping other people. You love helping other people transform and see themselves as better.
I do. I really do.
Announce to us what can we look forward to from Jason Mercurio, Redline Circuit Training in the future. How do we find you? How do we stay tuned for your big announcement? You said that's going to be coming up in a few weeks.
Yep. So I have finally all of my equipment that I have wanted to finally stock my gym with from day one. I finally have every piece. It's taken me all this time to get it finally up to par, but I finally have everything that I want for it. And I'll be making my announcement through social media, pretty much primarily through Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
So if anybody wants, you can get on, you can follow us on Facebook.
Redline. Do we follow Redline Circuit Training or Jason Mercurio?
Correct. Nope. Redline Circuit Training.
Okay.
And then the same thing on Instagram.
Okay.
I do have a personal coaching channel on YouTube, which is my J Merc channel. And
can you spell that for me?
Yep. J JMERC. And
that's on YouTube.
Yep, that's on YouTube. Okay. And I post a lot of my own whatever I'm training on for that day. At the gym. I focus a lot on the barbell work because in my experience, a lot of people, they mostly need help in that area because that's where the most highest risk of injury is. So I do a lot of mostly weight training, some motivational stuff on there as well. And I just recently launched it. Well, actually, it was about a year ago. But so yeah, I've just been, putting out content on there, and also a little bit of me in my home, just kind of getting that personal connect with everybody as well. So I'm a regular guy.
Yeah.
I hope I want people to be able to have somebody like myself. I wish that I had somebody like myself in the community that I could go to. That was their livelihood. And at one point I was a public servant. And even though I'm in the private sector now, I will always be a public servant at heart, no matter what, especially for the city. So
yeah, you certainly are 100%, man.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate that a lot. Means a lot. So thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. So as everybody heard, you could check out J Merc on YouTube. Subscribe to his channel there. Also on Facebook, Redline Circuit Training. Or they could just look up Jason Mercurio.
Yep, as well. So we'll be, like I said, we should be putting out our notification out here in the next few weeks of our particular launch date. So I am looking.
I'm very excited, man.
Me too, especially we have the new studio we're moving into. I'm really excited because it has primo parking for downtown Toledo. So yeah, which was very hard to find. So
absolutely. So, all right. Well, we will stay tuned. I appreciate everything that you've shared with us today. I'm inspired by your leadership and your entrepreneurship and the courage that you have to keep things moving along, even through the difficulties of this global pandemic. I'm very happy to hear that things are still moving along for you. And maybe you'll be seeing me trying to drop some extra pounds once again back in that gym.
Great. Awesome, man. I appreciate it, Bob.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for listening to This Is Your Normal.